We're going to look at the composition of two functions. So you're used to seeing things like this, r of x, s of x, f of x. Well, now we have this right here, and we read this as f of g of x. And when we do things like this, we always start with the inside. So that's what we're going to do first. So for this first guy, we have two functions, and it's asking for the value of r of s of 3. So the first thing I'm going to do is find s of 3. So remember, for s of 3, that means I go to s, and everywhere I see an x, I'm going to replace it with a 3. So I'm going to have negative 3 squared minus 2. 3 squared is 9. Negative 9 minus 2 is negative 11. So now we're going to replace this inside, which is s of 3, with the value for s of 3, which is negative 11. So I'm looking at r of negative 11. So that means I go up to r, and everywhere there's an x, I'm going to replace it with negative 11. So negative 2 times negative 11 plus 2. So negative 2 times negative 11 is positive 22, plus 2 is positive 24. So our answer here is 24. So r of s of 3 is 24. Let's look at this next one here. Same thing, we're going to start with the inside. This wants t of s of negative 1. So we're going to start with s of negative 1. So to find s of negative 1, I'm going to go into s and replace all of the x's with a negative 1. So 4 times negative 1 minus 1. 4 times negative 1 is negative 4, minus 1 is negative 5. So now I know the value for s of negative 1 is negative 5. So what I'm looking for is t of negative 5. And that means I go into t, and everywhere I see an x, I replace it with a negative 1. Negative 4 times negative 5 minus 3. Negative 4 times negative 5 is positive 20. Minus 3 is 17. So my answer for the value of t of s of negative 1 is 17. Let's do one more. Here we want the value for s of t of negative 4. So I'm starting with t of negative 4. And that means I go into t, and everywhere I see an x, I replace it with a negative 4. So I have negative 4 plus 4. Negative times a negative is positive. 4 plus 4 is 8. So now I know that what I'm trying to find is s of 8. So I go into s and replace all of my x's with an 8. Negative 3 times 8 minus 3 gives me a negative 24 minus 3, which is negative 27. So the value for s of t of negative 4 is negative 27.